If you think about estate cars, you might think of massive Skodas or fast Audis. You might not think of the Toyota Corolla. But in this review, we're explaining why you should. Because this isn't just a Toyota Corolla, this is a Toyota Corolla Touring Sports, which is the Japanese manufacturer's fancy name for the estate version of its family hatchback. The regular Corolla is a brilliant hybrid family car that's a rival to things like the VW Golf, the Seat Leon, and the Skoda Octavia. This Touring Sports version of that car is almost 30 centimetres longer, and it offers more space inside, as well, as you'd imagine, as a bigger boot. And being an estate, this then becomes a competitor to estate versions of those family cars. Now, the Touring Sports version of the Corolla isn't particularly new. It's been around with this generation of car since 2019. It was then given a facelift in 2023, which brought more power to the engine lineup and gave it a few tweaks inside and out as well. This is still that facelifted version of the car. There haven't been any significant updates to the lineup since then. So let's start back here, because this is the important bit for an estate car, isn't it? The boot. And the first thing to point out is that this offers 235 litres more storage than the regular hatchback version of the Corolla, which is very significant. But the overall capacity you have back here does depend on which engine you go for, like the regular car. So there are two engine options. There's a 1.8 litre petrol hybrid and a 2 litre petrol hybrid. And if you go for the 1.8, then boot capacity is 596 litres. If you go for the 2 litre option, then that drops down slightly to 581 litres. And the reason for that is that the bigger engine means there's not enough room under the bonnet to fit the hybrid battery, so it has to be put under a section of the boot floor here. But still, that's a good size whichever version of this car you go for. And there's lots of really helpful practical features to point out as well. So for a start, you've got this big, wide, open load bay, so it's very easy to put things in and to get them out again. You can see there's this height adjustable boot floor, and in its highest position, there's virtually no loading lip at the front. And you can of course lower it down to increase the overall capacity. If you do that, you can see it's not flat all the way to the back. There is a lump at the back of the boot there, but at least Toyota has given you some extra storage space to use underneath this. Admittedly, it's not much though. You can fold down the rear seats from the back here as well using these levers, which is very helpful. They split fold 60-40. Some other rivals offer 40-20-40 split folding rear seats, which is slightly more practical. And there also isn't a ski hatch in this Corolla either. To increase the overall capacity, you can of course remove the parcel shelf, which is easily done. You've also got these two massive compartments either side at the front, and it's very easy to remove these things as well to mean you can maximise the width available to you, which is great. Another handy thing to point out is the fact that you've got these long lighting strips at the back here, so it's very easy to light up the boot. There's also this thing up here which helps keep things out of sight. And there's also this netting at the back of the boot as well, which you can attach to the roof lining, which is handy if you're planning on using this as a dog car. And it's great that that comes as standard. In terms of just how big the boot is, we managed to fit a very impressive 9 carry-on size suitcases into the boot below the parcel shelf. In the regular hatchback Corolla, the 1.8 can take 6 and the 2 litre can take 5. We'd expect a similar difference between the engines in this estate version, which clearly is a more practical option. In terms of the wider estate class, 9 is also the number of suitcases we could fit in an Octavia estate, but a VW Passat can fit in a whopping 11. So yes, there are other estate cars out there that are even bigger than the Corolla Touring Sports, but most of them are more money. And this is still really practical in what it offers. And how big do you need your boot? Now, in the rear seats, the Corolla Touring Sports is definitely more spacious than what you get in the back of the regular Corolla. And actually, in terms of legroom, there's fractionally more on offer here than what you get in the very practical Octavia estate. And even with this front seat in its lowest position, there's still a decent amount of foot space as well, which is great. Headroom is a bit tighter back here than an Octavia though, but still 6-footers should be able to fit back here absolutely fine. And if you've got 3 people side by side, then it's very helpful that even though the floor isn't completely flat, this central transmission tunnel is quite low compared to other estate car rivals that this is up against. As standard, you get this fold down armrest with 2 cup holders. There's Isofix mounts on the outer 2 rear seats, and you've got these nice big practical pockets on the backs of the seats in front as well. And you also have these air vents, which you don't actually get on the regular versions of the Corolla. And it's nice as well that you've got pretty big windows to let a lot of light in back here. So compared to the regular Corolla, this is definitely more accommodating for adults in this rear seat area. And even compared to other estate car rivals, this is pretty decent in the space that it offers. But of course, there are even bigger estate cars that are even more practical when it comes to rear seat space. Now, up front in the Corolla Touring Sports, fundamentally, this is a good driving position. But it's not absolutely perfect if you're looking to pick holes in it because, for example, lots of other rivals give you a dial to adjust the angle of your backrest, but in the Corolla, you've got this lever and you have to put it in specific positions, which just makes it a little bit more difficult to fine-tune your ideal driving position compared to other rivals. Likewise, the steering wheel, it does adjust in and out, up and down, but the amount that it moves in and out isn't quite as much as you find in some other estate cars that this is up against. But still, fundamentally, the way the pedals line up, the comfort you get from the seats is very good in the Corolla Touring Sports. And also the visibility is great out the front and down the sides. Plus, you get really bright LED headlights as standard, even on the cheapest version of this car. And in lots of rivals, you've either got to pay extra for them, or you'll only get them if you go for the higher trim levels anyway. Now, the view out the back over the shoulder isn't amazing in the Corolla because you've got chunky pillars towards the boot, but you at least get parking sensors and a reversing camera as standard with this car. Also, as standard, this big, bright digital driver display, which is very easy to see. It can be a bit fiddly jumping between the menus that you get on it, but still very good to get this as standard. And this touchscreen infotainment system is the same setup regardless of trim level, and it's great that it's positioned nice and high on the dashboard here, so you don't have to take your eyes far from the road to be able to see it, and it's also within very easy reach for the driver. The system itself can be a little bit clunky, but you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, so it's not such a huge issue. And it's great that you've got these physical controls here to adjust the temperature and the fan speed, which is way simpler to use than some other alternatives that have all of these controls hidden on a touchscreen menu somewhere, which is just far more distracting to use while you're driving. Now, in terms of the way this interior looks, it's perhaps not an amazing example of beautiful interior design, but while it's simple, it is effective, because actually all the areas that you come into contact with have got a soft touch, dense feel to it. And so yes, while there are plastics around, they're good quality plastics, and it all feels really solid, put together very, very well indeed. And so this, in terms of build quality, is impressive in the estate car class. Now, when it comes to storage, there is a decent amount on offer. You've got 2 cup holders on the center console here. You've got this fairly shallow tray for wireless phone charging and a modestly sized cubby under this central armrest as well. But it would perhaps be a bit better if there was some extra storage worked into the center console here, and the door bins are a bit on the small side as well. But still, in lots of areas, some really great strengths in the Corolla Touring Sports up front. Now, ultimately, there are estate cars out there that have even bigger boots, even more spacious rear seats, and even nicer interiors, but this is still very strong in all of those areas, and as we'll talk more about later on, represents excellent value. And one area where the Corolla Touring Sports really does stand out from most of its rivals is under here. Because while there are lots of petrol and diesel estate cars, and actually quite a lot of plug-in hybrid estates as well, this is one of very few regular hybrids that you can buy as an estate. So it can't travel for miles and miles on pure electric power alone, like a plug-in hybrid can, but then you don't have to worry about plugging this in to get the best out of it. And it is far cheaper to buy outright than a plug-in hybrid rival. And it still offers fantastic fuel economy. As we've already mentioned, there are 2 different hybrid setups you can have with the Corolla Touring Sports. There's a 1.8 litre petrol engine and a 2 litre petrol engine. And in terms of fuel economy, if you go for the 1.8, the official figure is up to 62.7 miles per gallon. And if you go for the more powerful, less frugal 2 litre option, then that drops only slightly. Now, of course, in the real world, the fuel economy will be less than that, but we've had this 1.8 on test for quite a while now, and it's lived a hard life, covering lots of motorway miles, but it's still been easily returning more than 50 miles per gallon, which is great. And this isn't one of those cars that's good on paper because it offers good fuel economy, but is actually rather uninspiring and mediocre on the road, because this is actually brilliant to be behind the wheel of, and that is largely down to the fact that it's so comfortable. So the ride comfort on offer is soft enough to feel really well cushioned and plush, but it's still got that control to mean that it feels tied down and you're not bouncing around all over the place on undulating roads. And in terms of driving dynamics, this is absolutely fine. Now, it's not going to put a massive smile on your face on a twisty country road. And remember, this is up against things like the Seat Leon estate, which does have a sharper feeling front end than this Corolla Touring Sports, and ultimately does offer better driving dynamics than this car. But if you're driving this leisurely, at low speeds particularly, it's just so easy to drive because everything is very smooth. The steering is light, the pedal weights are perfectly judged, and the hybrid setup means that this does actually feel really sharp off the line. At those low speeds as well, it's very quiet inside, particularly for those short bursts that you're driving just on electric power. When you do floor the accelerator, the engine can make a bit of a racket because this automatic gearbox, which is a CVT, has a tendency to hold the revs up very high until you back off the accelerator. But those moments are pretty few and far between, to be honest. Once you are up at those motorway speeds, the ride is very comfortable, but it is a shame that there's quite a bit of road and wind noise in here, which is perhaps the biggest disappointment with this car on the road. But apart from that, in pretty much every area, this is really impressive and very good to drive, even by the pretty high standards of estate cars. Now, when it comes to deciding between the engines, we think the 1.8 is the pick of the lineup because it offers more than enough pace for everyday driving, and it's cheaper and it's more frugal than the 2-litre option as well. But if you definitely have to have more pace than what's on offer in the 1.8 and your budget can stretch to it, then it's good you've still got the 2-litre option if you want it. When it comes to the trim levels, there are 4 to choose from: Icon, Design, XL and GR Sport. Our pick is entry-level Icon. It comes with automatic headlights, dual-zone climate control, adaptive cruise control, heated front seats, 16-inch alloy wheels, parking sensors, a rear-view camera and keyless entry. So even though it's the cheapest option, it's still pretty well equipped. XL and particularly this GR Sport model push the price up quite a lot. Now, at a glance, the cheapest version of the Corolla Touring Sports might look a bit expensive on paper compared to the cheapest version of a Leon estate and an Octavia estate. But remember, this comes with a hybrid engine, which is typically more expensive and should make this more economical than the rivals that it's up against. And you'll also get more standard equipment with this car than its rivals. Plus, on top of all that, this is expected to hold on to its value better than the other cars that it's up against. So overall, this can still represent fantastic value, even if it isn't the outright cheapest estate car that you can buy. And few rivals can come close to matching Toyota's reputation for reliability. The Japanese manufacturer has a terrific track record in this area, as shown by every What Car Reliability survey that we've ever done. In our latest one that we have the results for right now, our 2024 survey, Toyota as a brand finished 5th out of 31 manufacturers, which is a fantastic result. We don't have specific data for the Touring Sports version of the Corolla, but the regular hatchback finished 6th in the family car class, which is another fantastic result. And so, obviously, we'd expect similarly excellent levels of reliability from the estate version of that car. And if anything does go wrong, it's brilliant that you can have up to 10 years or 100,000 mile warranty cover through the manufacturer. The only catch is you must get this serviced at an approved Toyota dealer every year. The Corolla Touring Sports also impresses when it comes to safety, receiving the maximum 5-star Euro NCAP rating when it was tested back in 2019. Although the tests have become tougher since then. Regardless of trim level, every version of this car is fitted with plenty of active safety aids to help you avoid a collision in the first place, including automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, traffic sign recognition, and automatic high beam assistance. Top spec versions add blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. So there are even bigger and more practical estate cars out there, but lots of them cost more money than the Corolla Touring Sports. And this is still an estate car that offers a big boot, good rear seat space, and on top of all of that, it's comfortable on the road, it's really well built inside, it offers fantastic fuel economy, and it should be very reliable. Thanks very much for watching this review. If you want to see another one, then click up there. Make sure you subscribe to our channel as well. And to read lots more on the Corolla Touring Sports and every other car around, click on that link to go to whatcar.com.